At this time, I'm going to say good afternoon and to remind everyone that we are live captioning our meeting. And so please look in the chat window of our WebEx meeting where you will find a link if that's your interest. So please click on that link to open a web page with the live captioning. With that then, at this time, I call to order the opening session for tonight's executive session and immediately following the agenda review meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board of May 18, 2021. Interesting, you didn't ask me how old I was, but Dr. Gonzalez, but we'll move on. Later today, we're going to review the agenda for the May 25, 2021 board meeting. But before we exit this meeting, I'm going to call roll for the record. And with that, Ms. Bittersmith, are you with us this afternoon?
I am, and I'll just point out Dr. Gonzalez is a very smart man. He would never deign to ask any of us what our ages were on a birthday. Well, that could be true. And then there's the other part is when you get to my age, you're really celebratory that you've gotten this far, but we won't go there. Okay, with that, thank you though, Ms. Bittersmith. Mrs. McGrath, are you present this afternoon?
Yes, I am, and I'd like to comment that it's much better to have a birthday than not.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very, very much. Dr. Narini.
I'm here, happy birthday.
Thank you. Ms. Smith. I can't tell. Is Ms. Smith present? I hear. I would assume that means she's present. Is John saying he's present for you, Ms. Smith?
He's here as well.
Okay, I'm marking Jacqueline down as present. Okay, great. Dr. Thor.
I'm here and a happy birthday.
Thank you. Ms. Nguyen? Ms. Nguyen did indicate she might not be present for today's executive session. So I'm presuming she's not. With that, in my presence, there is 6 board members present. That constitutes a quorum. So just note that for the record. So with that, we're going to briefly exit this meeting to enter into an executive session. We will resume in this meeting. We will resume the agenda review in this locale at the end of the session. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn into the session?
So moved.
And that was you, Dr. Thor?
Yes.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Narini. And I want to just reiterate that we're moving into an session pursuant to 38-431.03A7 for discussions or consultations with designated representatives of the public body in order to consider its position and instruct its representatives regarding negotiations for the purchase, sale, or lease of real property, vacant land at the northeast corner of South 40th Street and East Cottonwood Lane specifically. So we've had a motion and a second. All those board members in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Is there any board member opposed? Being none, the motion carries 6-0. And at this point, we are going to move into executive session. Those of you who are on this call, we will be back shortly into this location at WebEx. And with that, board members, please exit, and I will see you or join you for the executive session pursuant to the email we received as to that link. So thank you, everyone, and we will be back with you in a short while. Thank you. Board members.
Good afternoon, everybody. For anybody who just joined us, the governing board session is temporarily on hold. The governing board stepped into an executive session and they'll be back shortly.
Hello, everyone. This is Marie. I'm back, and we will be resuming here in a few minutes. Thank you.
Marie,
Yes.
this is Susan. I just want to let you know, I have to be off at 6 too, just for planning purposes.
Okay, thank you for letting me know.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank
we'll get through this. I'm just waiting for one more board member to join, and then I think we're good. So at this time, I call to order the agenda review meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board of May 18, 2021. Today, we're reviewing the agenda for the May 25, 2021 board meeting. I'd like the record to show that 6 board members are present with the and Mrs. Kathleen Nguyen is not present with us this afternoon, nor is Ms. Munoz, our student trustee. So with that, I'm going to take us through the agenda review as usual by item, and we'll make note at next week's meeting that the first item on our agenda will be the public hearing for a truth and taxation and review of fiscal year 2022 budget. With that, there would be the normal hearing with a review of the proposed county our community college budget for fiscal year 21-22. Are there any comments or questions by board members on that public hearing? Being none, at that time, we will then move into a special session. The special session will then be to adopt the proposed budget for Maricopa County Community College District for the fiscal year 21-22. Again, given the material that we've been presented, board members, do you have any comment or question on that particular item? I'm not calling on you individually, so please just jump in if you feel that you have something you'd like to comment on regarding the budget in that special session.
yes, can you hear me?
I sure can, Mrs. McGrath, so please go ahead.
We were told there would be a 3% reduction across the board, and each campus was told to come up with a 3% reduction. That did not happen, and there were some of us that questioned that. And so in lieu of that, we were given a 1% reduction, and I greatly appreciate the 1% reduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments by board members? Okay, there being none, we'll look to that item to be successful at the special session of next meeting on the 25th. After the special meeting, we will move into the regular meeting on 5/25, and as noted on the agenda, there will be our typical general order meeting notes. One would be substitutions, a presentation of the Faculty Executive Council, the Adjunct Faculty Association report, an interim employee Senate report, student life report, which we believe will be coming from Rio Salado, a student Senate report, comments if necessary on the Emeritus Awards, and the Chancellor's report presented by Dr. Gonzalez. Dr. Gonzalez, do you have any comments on the items you might be presenting? And then board members, do you want to make any comment after that? Dr. Gonzalez.
President Sullivan, no comments from me. Thank you.
Okay. Board members, do you have any comments on what it looks like will be presented by the Chancellor?
This is Linda. It's just that the Chancellor's report starts with 2 United Tribal employees, 3 Asian Pacific Islanders. And so I don't know what happened to 1.
So you're making a comment on the notations, and I'm sure that will be corrected for the meeting. Thank you.
Doc.
Thank you. Then after that, we will move into a consent agenda and well, unless there's citizens interim. But before we move into comment on the consent agenda, I want to remind everyone that there was some conversation about how the wording is presented for consideration of the consent agenda, and with the consideration of some new wording to more properly articulate our process regarding for the consent agenda. So before moving forward with the agenda review, I want to address a change in the language in section E of the notice of regular board meeting. So in order to be consistent with the board's customary practice, as well as the Arizona Attorney General Handbook on Chapter 7, covering the open meeting law, section 7.7.5, paren 2018, as board president, I have modified the language regarding the procedure required to remove an item from the consent agenda. The language in section E will now reflect the decades-long practice of this governing board. With that, the language specific to the removal of an item from the consent agenda will now read, quote, any item may be removed from the agenda by the chancellor as a matter of administrative prerogative or by the governing board upon request by a governing board member. No motion, second, or approval is necessary. Consent agenda items will be approved by one motion, and there will be no specific discussion of the items located therein. Items removed from the consent agenda may be voted on and approved during the consideration of the non-consent agenda. Items removed from the consent agenda may be sent to executive session for discussion by motion, second, and approval. At such time, the item will be removed from the agenda altogether, and the matter will be set for e-session and the proper legal notices will be made. So with that, again, within the prerogative of as board president and following both practice and AG's position for clarification, we have improved the language that appears, and this language will now be appearing in our agendas moving forward, beginning next with the 25th. So with that, I just wanted to make that comment before we move to items that are being considered for this coming board meeting's consent agenda. The first item will be approval of an emeritus distinction to Delia Escalante. The next would be approval of faculty emeritus distinction to Dr. Carissa Ashley. And then we move to approval of new administrative regulation 6.25 settlement authority. Board members, do you have any comments or questions on that item? Being none, the next item on the consent would be approval of amendment of governing board policy 2.7, staff compensation and benefits. Board members, do you have any comment on that? Next item, approval of resolution of the governing board shifting a portion of the reduction of the secondary property tax rate for current funding and future capital investments. Board members, any comment? Being none, the next item would be approval of curriculum, the summary with courses, deletions, modifications, new items. Board members, any comment on that item 7 under the consent agenda? Being none, the next item would be approval of dual enrollment for public, private, and charter schools. Board members, any comments or questions on that item? We move then to item 9, approval of acceptance. Yes, I'm here.
Now, actually, it's this item I want to comment on.
Item 9
Yes,
or item 8?
item 9.
Okay, so we're now moving to
I
item
was
9.
ahead of you.
Wow, well, you're just reading faster than I can speak then. Item 9, approval of acceptance of continuing subgrant award from the National Association for Community College Entrepreneurship, Inc. in partnership with Verizon Innovative Learning to Paradise Valley Community College for fiscal year 21-22, Verizon Innovative Learning Young Men of Color program. Dr. Thor.
Actually, Ms. Sullivan, the one I want to comment on is called Agreements for Dual Enrollment with Charter Schools.
So you're back to item 8.
No.
Well, both of my agendas say
Well,
that is item 8.
Go back to 8 then, please.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to move us out of 9, back to 8, which on the 2 agendas I have is approval of dual enrollment for public, private, and charter schools. Dr. Thor.
Oh, so that's what happened. Did they get combined? Oh, okay, because the one that was in the packet that was sent out to us has a chart of the charter schools that are being included. Maybe it's down in the board book. At any rate, that list includes Gateway Early College High School, but it does not include the Phoenix College Preparatory Academy. And I'm wondering why.
Okay, I'm not able to answer that question for you. So Dr. Gonzalez?
Yes, President Sullivan, Dr. Thor, if Dr. Eric Lazinski is on with us this evening, I'm hoping that he can answer that question for us. If not, then we will get that answer to you as quickly as possible. Dr. Lazinski?
President Sullivan and Dr. Thor, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, we will need to get that answer back to you at this time. I don't have the answer as to why that one is not included, but we'll get that answer to you ideally before the board session ends. If not, we'll have it by tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Lazinski. Dr. Thor, do you have any further comments or questions on item 8, which again, maybe we're looking at things differently, but my paperwork has it all combined.
Okay. No, I don't. Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan, I have a comment.
Yes,
on
Mrs. McGrath? Yes?
As I understand it, dual enrollment is for grade 9 through 12. It doesn't include K through 8. That's the reason that the Phoenix College Charter School is not included.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. McGrath. Being no more comment on item 8, I move to item 9. I read that previously. Is there any comment on item 9? I'm going to move to item 10, approval of acceptance of federal grant award for calendar year 2021 from the U.S. Small Business Administration to Maricopa County Community College District for the Arizona Small Business Development Center Arizona Network. Any comments from board members? Being none, I'll move us to item 11 on the consent agenda, approval of acceptance of continuation grant award year 2 from the Arizona Department of Education to Rio Salado College for College Bridge Pathways Adult Education Services. Any comment by board members? Being none, I'll move us to item 12, approval of the Digital Divide Cooperative Network IGN and government agreement to plan, design, construct, operate, maintain, and finance the Digital Divide Cooperative Network. Any comments or questions from board members on that?
President Sullivan?
Yes, Ms. Bittersmith.
I just have a quick question. Since the intergovernmental agreement has been designed, there has been additional dollars coming federally for broadband services. And I know the IGA references CARES Act money, but there's some other dollars that are labeled other things. I just want to ask the question. I don't need the answer this evening, but is the IGA broad enough to include other funding sources if we need to do that to make up for the combined dollars of the $250,000 obligation in the IGA for us?
Thank you. Mr. Curtin, are you able or available to answer that question?
I am on. I don't know specifically about the funding, but I'm going to invite Paul Ross from Phoenix College to address that if he's available to speak. We also have, by the way, from the city of Phoenix, Christine Mackey and Councilwoman Laura Pastor, who may be able to address how there's a cooperative putting the funding together for this project.
Madam President, it's Chris Mackey. I'd be happy to answer that question if you like.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board Member Bittersmith, yes, we believe it is broad enough to be able to take advantage of some of those additional funds that would be coming forward. As an example, as part of the new American Recovery the American Rescue Act, Recovery Act funds that are coming forward right now, the Phoenix City Council is allocating an additional $5 million out of that fund, as well as looking at the broadband fund. So yes, we believe it is broad enough to be able to incorporate those other funds for the other entities. And if for any reason our attorneys feel it isn't, we certainly would be back before this body asking for an amendment to that IGA and funding sources.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
Mackey.
President Sullivan and Chris. There's another fund, EBB fund, that may be applicable too. We can talk offline about that. I just want to make sure that the language was broad enough to encompass those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, moving to item 13 on consent, approval of 21-22 student insurance program renewal. Board members, any comments or questions? Moving to item 14, approval of extension of Oracle Cloud Hosting and Managed Services Agreement for Enterprise Resource Planning Cloud Service Hosting Support. Board members, any comments or questions? Item 15, approval of construction contract award to Chase Building Team, Inc. for the Kamaki, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Hall Phase 1 remodel at Estrella Mountain Community College. Board members, any comments or questions on item 15? Being none, moving to item 16, approval of job order contracting purchase order to Baker Copeland LLC for air handler unit replacement in the nursing building at Mesa Community College, Dobson and Southern Campus. Board members, any comments or questions? Item 17, approval of guaranteed maximum price amendment number 1 to McCarthy Building Companies for the remodeling and expansion of the Life Sciences Physical Science Building at South Mountain Community College. Board members, any comments or questions? With that concludes the items that will be present on the consent agenda. The May 25 meeting. Moving then to non-consent action items. We can see that there's an item there for approval of the sale of 6.9 acres of vacant land at the northeast corner of South 40th Street and East Cottonwood Lane to Provestus Development Solutions LLC for $3.6 million. Board members, any particular comments or questions right now on that topic? There being none, we would then move to the employment and separation agreement, March 21 through April 16, 21. Any comments or questions? We also have a new item then on the agenda under first read and information, and that is a first read that would be present to approve the addition of the remote and virtual work policy to the staff policy manual. This is new to us. We have Dr. Georgetta Kelly on who could give us a brief overview. Dr. Kelly, before I turn it over to you, I just want to offer comment that there are 2 board members that need to leave the meeting at 6. So if you have an overview for us on that item, that would be appreciated, keeping in mind our time frame.
Thank you so much, President Sullivan and board members. And Dr. Gonzalez, we're going to jump right into the quick presentation. It will take less than 10 minutes, so we're going to move through it rather quickly. I have with me Mark Demp from Technology, Megan Tormey from HR, and Joshua Moss, Student Service Analyst, to present. Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Sullivan, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, members of the CEC, colleagues and guests. My name is Mark Dempt, and I'm an associate CIO in the district office IT organization. I'm here together this afternoon with Megan Tormey and Josh Moss, who were just introduced to you. In the interest of brevity, I'm going to skip quickly just to mention that Nadine Sellers, employee senator and institutional services supervisor from Estrella Mountain, and Garrett Smith, human resources director at Mesa Community College, also contributed to this effort, but were unable to attend tonight. The team has a very short presentation. Each of us will be covering a few slides, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions. Next slide, please. The team will be covering the overall purpose and intention of the proposed policy, how the policy was developed and socialized. We will touch on the research, materials, and sources utilized by the team, as well as the findings. Provide a brief overview of where our organization is today, current state. Touch on the future vision and how the policy moves our organization forward, and provide a brief policy overview. Next slide, please. And passing the baton to Josh Moss.
Thank you, Mark. Again, my name is Josh. I work at Paradise Valley Community College, and I'm speaking to you today as a member of the Employee Senate. When really looking at the intent and the purpose of this policy, we want to ensure that we meet organizational needs to better support students and staff alike. We see this as a great opportunity to capitalize on technologies and venues that allow us reasonable flexibility to successfully serve all types of students. This policy would also position us to have a competitive advantage and enhanced workforce when seeking out new employees to join the Maricopa family, while also aligning us with many best practice models in today's ever-changing job market. We also strongly believe that this will not only increase, but also reinforce Maricopa's recognition as one of the best places to work before, during, and after the pandemic. Next slide, please. We've had a lot of great opportunities to collaborate this policy, led primarily in partnership between Human Resources and the Employee Senate policy team. With that same spirit of collaboration, it was important for us to socialize this policy to as many stakeholders as possible. We've provided and received feedback from the Employee Senate and CEC, including the groups that you see here. It's been an exciting adventure to see so many great staff and leaders at so many levels within the organization not only be interested in this work, but also provide us with great support. We've also made sure to vet this policy appropriately through risk management, legal, and payroll. Most importantly, though, we've sought out broader organizational input through an open commenting period set to close this Friday. So far, during this commenting period, the policy has been seen by many throughout the entire organization and has received overwhelmingly positive feedback that indicates we are headed in the right direction. Next slide, please. I'm going to go ahead and pass the torch off now to Megan Tormey, who will go over the policy itself in more detail.
Thank you, Josh. Again, my name is Megan, and I'm speaking to you from Human Resources at the district office. Our team conducted comprehensive research into the breadth and depth of remote work policies, processes, and practices. Our research included higher education institutions, public and private sector organizations, federal and state governments, professional associations, and researchers. Next slide, please. The research identified that remote work has and continues to grow. In 2012, 39% of employees worked remotely at least one day a week, with that number growing to 43% in 2016 and 52% in pre-pandemic 2020. During the pandemic, 66% of employees worked remotely, with 44% of those working full-time. Flexibility grew as a critical factor in employee attraction and retention, with 78% of employees stating that flexibility is the most important non-monetary benefit, and 54% of employees stating that they would leave their job for one that offers flexible work time. 52% of employees would like to continue to work remotely after the pandemic, and highly engaged workplaces can claim 41% lower absenteeism, 40% fewer errors, and up to 47% increase in productivity, as well as additional benefits. In addition, remote work has an overall positive impact on the environment. Next slide, please. The employment landscape has changed dramatically during the past 14 months. Due to the pandemic, Maricopa Community Colleges was thrust into a remote work environment that forced us into new ways of serving students. What we learned is that we can continue to provide high quality service, employees can have flexible work schedules and continue to get work done with increased productivity and efficiency, and employee engagement can occur at a broader capacity. Organizations Organizations locally and nationally are moving to create remote options to increase the attractiveness of their organizations, to recruit and retain top talent. Within our own county, we're seeing increased competition with the state of Arizona moving towards a 60% in-person and 40% full remote work model. This is also occurring within higher education as ASU and others offer work anywhere options that are already pulling high-performing employees away from Maricopa. Next slide, please. As we look to the future of Maricopa, we want to support employee engagement by creating additional flexible work options through employee policy. Design principles were established to ensure Maricopa's success, including responsiveness and performance expectations to ensure employees continue to meet the needs of our students and the business regardless of location. Security standards, training, and guidance were enacted to ensure that security of digital and physical data through the use of equipment, software, policies, and procedures occurs. And finally, safety by ensuring employees have the option available to be full contributing members to Maricopa's workforce while ensuring their own health and safety and that of their families. Next slide, please. The future will be supported by the proposed remote and virtual work policy. Traditional in-person work will continue to support students, employees in the community that prefer face-to-face service. We will continue to maintain an in-person presence. Remote and virtual work options will be an addition to this service, not a replacement of it. Remote work or work from home can be offered to employees through 4 different options and is distinguished from virtual work because employees may return to in-person work. Full remote work is working from home 100% of the time. Partial remote work can mean employees work part of the week from home and part of the week in person based on a predetermined schedule. Hybrid remote work occurs because it can be combined with alternative work schedules like 4 10-hour days or early and late start times. And the flexible remote option allows employees to work from home occasionally as needed to focus on a task or project. Next slide, please. Virtual work is the second option and is distinguished from remote work because it doesn't require in-office attendance and can be outside of the state. Eligibility will be determined by the unit in consultation with Human Resources with final approval by the college president, district office executive leader, or designee. There are 2 options, including standard virtual work, so standard schedule, just working virtually, and hybrid virtual, which is again virtual work combined with an alternative work schedule. And this is occurred through a remote and virtual work agreement. The agreement is a formal document that will allow an employee and supervisor to identify remote and virtual work options, the schedule, expectations, and guidelines. A one-time remote and virtual work training will be required for all employees who are approved for remote and virtual work. And the remote and virtual work agreement will be evaluated quarterly by the employee and supervisor with an annual renewal. This presentation conducts our broad overview of the remote and virtual work policy that we are presenting for first read. Thank you for your consideration, and at this time, we are happy to accept any questions you may have.
Thank you very, very much for that presentation, and certainly I think this is a worthwhile policy to begin to put in the manual. With that, however, I do need to ask board members if they have questions and comments. Ms. Bittersmith.
Just quickly, a question, and the answer can come at the meeting or as we go through the other reads. I would like to see some more specific data. I know there's a reference to ASU and other higher education institutions and the belief that their work anywhere, work from home options are drawing employees away from the community college district. I'd like to see some data to support that and some more details about what our allegedly competing institutions in Arizona are doing as a reference point to what we're talking about doing.
Thank you, Ms. Bittersmith. Dr. Kelly, is it possible to pull some of that material together before the second read?
Yes, yes, President Sullivan, we will be able to provide that additional research information to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Bittersmith. With that, Mrs. McGrath.
At this time.
Thank you, Mrs. McGrath. Dr. Narini?
No questions. Just thank you for the presentation and the work that went into developing this.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mrs. Smith? I'll come back to her in a minute. Then Dr. Thor?
I found the presentation very informative, and it's great to see that we're reflecting on our experiences of the pandemic as to what we need to do differently in the future.
Thank you. And again, from my perspective, I appreciate the work and data collection that's gone into finding this as a potential policy, and appreciate the presentation and our response to the new environment. I also understand that Ms. Smith did not have any questions. I just wasn't able to hear, so I apologize to her. With that, Dr. Kelly, you've heard the comments and also the inquiry, so we'll look forward to further information, recognizing that we will have that before a second read. So thank you very much to you and your team for that today.
Thank you, President Sullivan and board members.
Thank you. Going further for agenda review, the next item after this would be monitoring reports with the budget analysis report for Fund 1. Is there any comment or question from board members? Being none, then as always, we will then move at that point in our agenda to our governing board reports. Following that, there's a reminder of all of our upcoming meetings. You will note on the agenda, there's a notation for June 8th to look at charter high school budgets. There are possibly 2 other topics for work sessions that day, so stay tuned for those items. We will convene at 4 p.m. on June 8th and move through that meeting. June 15 is agenda review. There will also be a work session attached to that, since we have so much work we have to do before we go on hiatus at the end of June. And then we, of course, will have our June 22, 2021 regular board meeting. And that would conclude the board's work for this current academic year, recognizing that our work is never done, and we will have reading and other things to pursue during the month of July. But with that, that's a brief outline. That's our agenda review for this evening. I want to thank all of you for your presence and attention, and also for the birthday wishes that have just surfaced up on my chat. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing everyone next week. Thank you.